Let's start it off real mellow, everybody. What's poppin', everybody? This is Ray Rawlins from the Ray Rawlins Network, and I'm joined by Alex Pain. Today, we're continuing the Halloween marathon, the 31 days of Halloween cartoons, and we're doing The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror XIII, or 13. That's how they have it labeled. Season 14, episode 1. The reason why I'm talking like this, man, I'm not even gonna lie. This episode had me sleeping. This episode really did have me sleeping. I'm not a little bit of spoiler, but this episode had me kind of yawning, dozing off. It wasn't really interesting to me. I didn't like it. And just so everyone knows, the one person who's watching us right now, that I'm using a list of people's favorite Treehouse of Horror episodes. This one person had made a list on, I forget which site it was. It was like Cartoon Amino or something like that. I can't remember per se. But I'm using this list as a reference to see how, okay, let's go down to some what you guys have on here. And two of the episodes I picked out myself when I first started this review for the whole Halloween, the whole plans for the Halloween celebration marathon, whatever the heck you want to call it. So, and Alex is doing Courage the Cowardly Dog. I'm doing The Simpsons. But this episode, man, it should not have been on that list, if you ask me. But anyway, I guess we can give a little description or whatever, breakdown before we get into the whole review aspect of this video. As usual, 3 mini stories in a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode. The first one is about Homer getting a cloning hammock where, obviously the whole abject of it is to clone the person who's laying in it, and he used all his clones to do his chores, and they eventually end up taking over Springfield and whatnot, and he has to kill them all off. Second story is about Lisa finding this old dead cowboy and whatnot, and reading his tombstone. He's like, man, how the world be better without any guns, and she convinces everyone in the world to give up their guns. Cowboys come, try to take over, and their goal is to kill the cowboys, to make the world safe again. The third portion of the episode is the whole, I guess you call it Dr. Gavorkian type shit. Dr. Hebert has a private island, a little resort, where he's turning people into animals. So, there you go. That's the 3 episodes.
Animals.
First impressions, Mr. Alex Pain. What are your thoughts?
My first, I don't know what my first thought was the guy in the first story said the hammock was evil, but nothing particularly evil happened. They just cloned himself. I wouldn't say cloning yourself is evil.
Right.
So that was realistically my first thought. What was your?
I mean, I'll tell you what my first thought about that whole hammock episode was. I can't tell you, we did 5 Treehouse of Horror reviews up to this point, right? And for some reason, people, like the Simpsons, don't understand. Homer especially, and I mean, granted, it is Homer. He's supposed to be a stupid idiot. But if somebody's telling you something, talking about, oh man, I must warn you, it's going to be evil. I can't tell you, I've seen that happen practically every single episode we reviewed so far. But
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if that's supposed to be a running joke or them reusing the same idea.
It's supposed to be a running joke, I think, because the whole plot point is different, I suppose, for the story. The whole story aspect is different. I guess it's supposed to be a running joke that I never really caught on to until now. But I think if I had to choose which episode was better, I honestly had to say the hammock one. Simply because everybody dreams of having a clone of their own, right? I can't tell you how many times I thought it. I'm sure you thought it. Probably everybody thought it. No, I would not, because that's a dude. That's the dude.
Would that be considered masturbation?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I look at it this way. I'm not even curious to find out. It's interesting though. That's not the first thing that would be on my mind. That kind of worries me about you.
Listen, I'm just saying, okay?
You were the one who brought it up, but
I
I used the clone to do a whole bunch of schoolwork, work, all this and that,
yeah,
just
but
like
if he's a
everybody
clone
else
of
would.
you, he wouldn't want to do the work either.
And
So
that's what that showcase too, and which is awesome. Which is awesome. Like they really put that line of thinking in there. Um,
not
I will
really,
tell
because
you
all of them
this.
was doing all of the work. They only stopped when homeboy killed the neighbor.
Right. Which really is surprising because I kind of was like, oh yeah, man. They're, I guess, because one of the clones did say, oh man, I'm gonna need a clone now. So, and that's how eventually a whole bunch of Homers got created. So I will say, I guess it's kind of like a realistic play on what would happen if people could clone themselves. The population would just practically double, pretty much. Second episode, I'm be honest, that's where I started dozing off. I really didn't care too much for that one.
Yeah, I definitely
Um,
didn't like that one either.
and then the third part of the episode, the whole Dr. Hibbert turning all the characters into animals and whatnot, I thought that was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting. Still wasn't as good as the whole clone portion, if you ask me, but I think it was alright. It was alright. I think it's pretty cool. Like he was a mad doctor. He's turning people into animals. Marge got turned into a little blue tiger. Homer, I forgot what he got turned into.
He got turned into
Um,
a walrus.
a
And
walrus. There you go. Right at the end.
like smoothly transition, even though I'm mentioning it. I think like the main moments I found enjoyable in this episode were in the last one. I thought it was funny when Homer had to milk the cow, man.
Oh yeah. Milk
I
Flanders. He's like, oh
and
man, you're so gentle when you wanna be.
I don't know why, but found it kind of funny. Like at the end when he was scratching Marge back with his tusk. I don't know why, that just kind of made me laugh. Just the idea of it, I guess. But
The it's funny. I told you before we started. The one thing that really made me laugh on this episode is like the intro when Homer's just screaming for no apparent reason. He's just straight up hollering. I don't know why that's one of the funny things on this episode for me.
well, hey, you
But
had a weirdly funny moment at the beginning. I had a weirdly funny moment at the end.
let's get into final reviews though. Like what you think? What you think? What is this episode to you? I think
This
we
one,
kind of covered it a little bit, but let's talk about it.
this episode is pretty much a sleeper to me, and not in the context that people don't recognize its greatness. It's a sleeper in the fact that like if you're tired, put this one on. But so I think this episode got to take a L, and I'm gonna give this one a 4.
Ooh, that's a super L. That's not just a L. That's a super L. But
No, that's more of like
I'm really gonna have to.
a moderately serious L.
I'm gonna have to agree with you though. I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like this episode was definitely a sleeper. I slept a little bit during it. I'm not even gonna lie. My eyes were closed. I'm like, oh shit, this ain't shit. This ain't shit. This really ain't shit during that little cowboy portion of it. But I'll do it a little better. I'll give it a 5. I'll give it a 5. No
Yeah.
more final words. So
Nope.
that's how tired the episode got us, man. I'm sorry. I can't. Whoever put that on that list, I'm gonna go back and look at it too. They fucked up on that one. That was pure shit. But well, that's it, you guys. My name is Ray Rawlins. He is Alex Pain. This is the Ray Rawlins Network, where we talk cartoons and we practically do it daily. Halloween Marathon, of course, will continue tomorrow. So with all that being said, we will see you when we see you. Peace.